Junina and our podcast, Diabetically Speaking with SmartMove360. This is our second episode of the 2024. We started this year. This is the beginning of the year. For many people, this is the beginning of new projects and stuff. So let's go. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome, new people who just found us. I am hoping that you will find information we're providing here useful and find our guests always very helpful and nice and kind and pleasant to deal with. I personally inviting only people who I like to the show. So at least I like them and I like those conversations we always have. So, back to what I started with. It's the beginning of new year. This is the time when a lot of people are making their new year resolutions. They are making plans for the year to come. They find their word of the year. They find their goal for the year. This is all great. And we are, from our end, trying to support you on it because you got to have a goal. You have to stay motivated. For that matter, last episode, what was the first episode of the year, we had with Monica Henderson. She is the agent of change and she had this started this motivation going. And I think my today's guest, Jenn Fredericks, she is such a perfect match for the theme of this month, motivation. Motivation to do things that maybe seem impossible, maybe seem too tough to do, but hey, a lot of people start with that and then they receive great results. So let's talk about it. Jen, would you please welcome first of all, and would you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. My name's Jenn Fredericks, and I'm a prosilience coach or a proactive resilience coach. I was very excited to meet Irina and wanted to come on and share my journey managing a life threatening chronic illness for the past 3 decades. And I'm also a caregiver for my daughter with a life threatening chronic illness for the past 8 years. And I found some tips and tricks on how to do that with resilience, with finding glimmers in the everyday, even when things are really hard. And so I'm on a mission to share those insights and support people with them.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jen. And I really was impressed with your story when you told me that. Um, as our podcast is called Diabetically Speaking, right? Diabetes, as many of us know, is unfortunately is a epidemic right now around the globe, and unfortunately also not many people are educated on it. The one of the piece of information that we need to know and need to remember that first of all and foremost, this is a diagnosis. This is not the life sentence. This is something that people live with, they thrive with, and sometimes even I hear that people saying receiving this diagnosis was a blessing because I knew what I supposed to do. I knew what needs to be done, but I didn't do it. I was slacking out, I was taking it easy, I was not following the basic rules, and as a result, I got this diagnosis. But now, when I am aware that that um, milestone is achieved, I got diagnosed, I can actually do the reverse engineering and actually bring me back to my healthy me when I can do things that I know and love and would like to do. I know that Jen's story, she is not diabetic,
Yeah,
but a lot of times I know that people who have diabetes have this problem, this illness as well. So, Jen, would you please tell us about you receiving your diagnosis and how did you deal with this stress and what kept you, staying motivated and doing things the way how you are doing?
sure. Well, thank you for asking that. As Irina mentioned, I am not diabetic. I, however, was used as a case study for diabetics of why it's so important to take care of your diagnosis. I am actually a two-time kidney transplant recipient. I received my first transplant when I was 15 years old, so, like 30 years ago. And it was from, we didn't really know what caused my kidneys to fail. Um, they believe it probably was a virus, a virus that
Mhm.
was created that I was just, my kidneys were predisposed to being affected by that virus. So when I was 14 going on 15, I was on dialysis for about 6 months when my kidneys completely failed. And I recall sitting in the children's hospital I was in, which great care. I love children's hospitals. They actually would bring some of the kids who were diagnosed with diabetes or were pre-diabetic to the dialysis area just to let them know, okay, there are some choices that you can make here, and the choices you make will help sort of determine which path you might go down. And they didn't do it in a doomsday way. It was supposed to be as like a motivation of, hey,
Yes.
you manage your blood sugar, when you manage your diet, when you move, then maybe you won't need to have this type of intervention or treatment. And I didn't mind that. You know,
Hmm.
just as now, I like to be able to share information with people because when we know better, we do better, as Maya Angelou said.
Yes.
So, when I was 15, I received a kidney from my dad, and that kidney lasted a wonderful 18 years. I was able to really go through all of the major milestones that you do as a teenager and, graduated college, met my husband, got married, bought our first house, adopted a beautiful daughter. And then in 2012, my kidney decided it was pretty tired. So I was lucky enough to receive the option for treatment again through dialysis for 6 months as we worked up those who were interested in possibly donating to me. And I was gifted another kidney, and this time from my husband's twin brother, which is funny because people will say, "Well, why didn't it's a twin? Why didn't your husband just give you the kidney?" Well, they're fraternal twins, so
Hmm.
the markers that need to match up to be a good match weren't there. So I was very, very blessed to receive a kidney from my brother-in-law, and we just celebrated 11 years out from my second kidney
Wow.
transplant. Thank you.
Congratulations. Yes. So, let me ask you, like, just a refresh. This is an impressive story, and I think that it just to know that when you are doing what you need to do, you could deal with many different challenges that life can throw at you.
Mhm.
So, say, let me ask you that. You just mentioned that you had this all going on well for you. You graduated from the college, you got family, you got the new house, and then suddenly you learned that something is not working as well anymore, and you need to go through the another route. What emotions did it bring at you, and how did you deal with that?
Sure. Well, first, I knew that this was a temporary treatment, my first transplant. And
Hmm.
I was just so ecstatic that it lasted 18 years. And that was even through some
Yes.
rejection episodes and all of those types of things. So just knowing that challenges are part of life helps me.
Mm-hmm.
People ask, how am I so resilient? And my first response is like, I didn't know I had a choice. Of course,
Yes.
everyone has a choice in how they want to live their life. But it was like, well, I have this 4-year-old daughter and I have this job I really love. At the time, I was in corporate marketing. I'm married. I have all of these friends I love to do things with. I love theater. Like, I didn't know I had a choice then to get better again. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's one thing. Um, I also have this innate way of looking at things that's more on the okay, know what's happening and then decide what to do and do it. And I
Yes.
tend to do that with more of a positive light. I try not to be like, if you know the term Pollyanna. I don't go for toxic positivity, but
Mm-hmm.
this is what's happening and this is what I can do about it. And I can either go through it suffering as I go through it, or I get to choose how I want to go through this challenge. And I usually always try to make it more like not me living with chronic illness, but chronic illness living with me. And so
Uh-huh.
this is something that I do and take care of, but it's not something that my life and my days revolve around.
Mm-hmm.
And
All
it's
right.
possible that that's because it became a part of my life while I was so young. It feels normal to
Yeah.
me. It's and people will say, "Well, that's not normal." I'm like, well, but it is to me.
Yes. Well, I when I look at the diabetes, the way how I got involved with diabetes is I unfortunately lost my husband due to the complications, and it's actually kidney failure. That's what happened to him. And the uh, the way how exactly what you were saying, there are people who have different challenges, like they may have allergies to some food items or some environmental subjects. There are people who have maybe like asthma or something like that. When you have information about it, you are so much better than when you unaware. So if you know that you cannot eat shell fish, you will not eat it because you know that it could send you to the hospital because of the reaction. When you know that, say, cold air is not good for your lungs, you take precautions about it, and you don't do necessarily what other people will do in the cold air, just because you know that it may cause you again reaction, immediate reaction. Unfortunately, with diabetes, it is not immediate reaction. Very often, it's kind of like pushed back, and you maybe will have reaction 2 hours later or next
Right.
day, uh, if you will have the reaction. Sometimes when people don't know about their diagnosis, they just say, hey, I don't feel good, and that's it, and I don't know what is the reason. So when you know what you have, what challenge you have, and what reaction you could have, you definitely trying to avoid it. But sometimes you kind of slacking out,
Yeah.
and when you're slacking out all the time, that's when the problem grows big, that causes you to go
Sure.
there. So on day-to-day basis, you have to be aware, you have to remember. So do you have any tricks you could share with our listeners? What do you use to remind yourself to, say, limit yourself in those, slacking accidents that happen? What do you use to help yourself to stay in the healthy side of the, our
Sure.
life?
First, I will invite everyone to be gentle with themselves, because the more we
Mhm.
have negative chatter in our minds, the harder it is to be motivated to do the things we know we need to do. So if
Yes.
we're flogging ourselves each time we have um, a piece of candy, you're probably more likely to have that piece of candy again to help you feel better
Mhm.
than if you accept the fact that, hey, that was a slip. I recognize it was a slip. I'm going to be gentle with myself. I'm going to say, okay, this next hour is a new hour. Tomorrow is a new day. Like I mentioned, I don't have the experience of needing to manage that side of, metabolically how everything works. But when I was on dialysis, I really did have to watch my fluid intake. I had to watch my potassium intake and my phosphorus intake, and everything was a finely tuned machine. And
Yes.
for pretty much my whole first transplant, I wasn't able to eat many citrus fruits, no tomatoes, no bananas, no chocolate, no potatoes, no french fries, no pizza, because those are
Mhm.
so full of potassium and you don't want to mess with potassium. If you have
Yes.
too much or too little, it can affect how your heart works. And there were times when I didn't slip up at all and I went in for
Mm.
labs, my potassium would be sky high. And the first thing you have to do is take care of it, which for me was
Yes.
drinking this really gross medicine that tastes like Dr. Pepper with sand in it. But I knew I had to do it, because if not, the alternative was possibly, having more things wrong with me or not being here on earth. And that wasn't an option for me. And so I would go to the
Mhm.
pharmacy and I'd get the drink and I'd drink the drink and I'd experience the side effects. And the whole time it was, okay, I know what's going on. I know how to fix it. I'm going to take the next right step. And so I'm going to invite
Mhm.
people to remember, maybe the right next step for you is talking more gently with yourself, talking to yourself as you would talk to a friend or a loved one, because we are not always our best friends in our head.
Yes. Definitely. Yes, and I see that in our group, Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners. We pretty often have those talks. I was bad yesterday. I did this, and now I'm suffering consequences, or now I'm afraid what may
Right.
happen. And we have, fortunately, the group is very positive in many situations. So we always have somebody saying, "Hey, man," or "Hey, friend." Uh, yes, it was not good decision you made, but look, tomorrow is a better day, a new day. You got to get back on track. Don't let yourself to go down this drain and just ruin everything that you've done, achieved so far.
Yeah,
So
it's so hard sometimes when we see ourselves in the spot that we're in to remember to take a moment to look back and remember how far we've come and celebrate that. One practice I like to do with clients is, when I first start a coaching session, I'll always ask, okay, what's working? What's working? What are
yes.
you celebrating? And what that does is it gets us into that mindset of speaking kindly and gently with ourselves, but it also actually physiologically changes how we interact with information. It actually
Hmm.
activates our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest part of our central nervous system, rather than the fight flight part, which is the
Uh-huh.
sympathetic. And so when I ask people that, it helps you kind of reset and regulate your central nervous system a little bit so that you're more open to making the next right choice,
Hmm.
deciding, what is the next step I want to do? What can I do differently tomorrow without going into the, oh, I'm so terrible. I can't believe I did that. I'm horrible. I'm the worst, patient in the world. Well, that's not going to help you. What's going to
Yes.
help you is accepting yourself and loving yourself and knowing that you are trying the best that you can. And everyone takes a misstep, and missteps and mistakes are usually our
Hmm.
biggest teacher. So when you can look at
Yes.
it as an opportunity of learning, then you can move forward in a different way.
Definitely, definitely. This is actually such a great reminder about reflection to see what you've done good, and I think this you need to grow special muscle to force yourself thinking this way, because I know that very often it happens, and it happens to everyone when in the morning, during the daytime, sometimes, whatever, you think, gosh, I need to do this and I need to do that. And I am not interested, motivated. Why do I need to do that? And it failed last time. Why should I do it again? And this is how we often talk to ourselves instead of, yes, I'm tired, but another time, my last blood work was pretty good. I am tired, but look, my blood work is better, and I'm feeling right now compared to what it was 4 months ago is very different. I lost this many
Mhm.
pounds, or I can now go for a 20 minutes walk instead of 5 minutes walk. This kind of reflection to the what is already achieved, uh, we got to remind ourselves because it's not coming natural, isn't it?
No, it's not part of human nature. It isn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our brain is wired to detect threats to our survival, and those are
Uh-huh.
more prone to show up for us. And I love that you bring that up. And that's some of the work that I do with people that I support, especially through helping them build resilience and proactive resilience. Now, did you know that we are all born with innate resilience? And we all have what an organizational psychologist, Linda Hoops, has identified as 7 resilience muscles. And they may be at work at different levels at every turn of the day, but we all have
Uh-huh.
access to that. And so I like to help people identify their resilience muscle and which one they want to use in a moment of challenge, whether that challenge is good or bad. I use challenge sort of as a neutral. Adversity is
Uh-huh.
more of the, okay, this is a big challenge that I need to really do something about, but help them identify those resilience muscles and which they use the most to move forward and through a challenge. And then the other thing that I heard you mention in a way is how we can manage our energy. When you have a chronic illness, or if you're dealing with someone with a chronic illness, I didn't mean dealing, when you're caring for someone with a chronic
Yes.
illness, energy fuels our resilience. When we do not identify our 4 areas of energy that could be drained while we're managing our own illness or caring for someone with an illness, and we don't find ways to replenish those areas of energy,
Yes.
we don't have much
For
chance
sure.
to really succeed or enjoy
Mm-hmm.
life. And so, those different areas of energy that I work with people on are your physical energy. Okay, how do we use our body to get things done? Our mental
Mm-hmm.
energy, what helps us think clearly and quickly? Our emotional
Mm-hmm.
energy, how do we work with difficult feelings? And then our spiritual energy, which means connecting with a sense of meaning and purpose that gives us the motivation to keep going and
Yes.
doing these different things.
Wow. This is so good. Thank you for sharing that, because we always are talking about the physical body, you know the exercises, the meals, the sleep, but what you are talking about is something that we're really lacking on. This is not much training going on this, how to keep your head clear and see what you want, recognize what you want, because we are so getting sucked into the day-to-day routine and day-to-day challenges, and do not even notice that sometimes we're just staying in the same spot, not moving
Sure.
forward. So when you have this clarity and taking care of those four parts that you mentioned, this is, I think, will help
Good.
people and everyone to be in a better understanding and moving forward. whatever.
Great. Well, and I do want to acknowledge that if we don't have a lot of physical energy available to us, it's going to be more difficult to manage your mental, emotional, and
Yes.
spiritual. And that's where we're gentle with ourselves. Like today,
Mm-hmm.
I can get out of bed. I'm going to manage my
Mm-hmm.
physical energy, and that's what I can do. And while I'm doing that, maybe I'm not paying attention to the emotional, spiritual, mental, but at least I'm just going to take some time to be kind and gentle with myself.
Mm-hmm.
There's a quote that I love to share, and the name of the person who said it is escaping me, but it's pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. So, my
Mm-hmm.
mission is to help people diminish their suffering, even if there is pain, because none of us were guaranteed an easy go at this life. And we're here. So we get to choose how we want to show up and experience it. And I've chosen, I'll have moments where I'm not able to manage all of those energies and flex my resilience muscles, and I don't meet a challenge gracefully. And that's fine. Hey, we're human. That's going to happen.
Yes.
But I think the biggest thing I would like to leave with your listeners and your community is that tomorrow is a new day. Like you said, be
Yes.
gentle with yourself. We're not going to be 100% every day. We're not meant to. Look at yourself like as a
Mm-hmm.
piece of, uh, like a circle, a pie chart. You're not going to be able to have all of these things equal at the same time. So just recognize where you're at, acknowledge it. This is what I can do. It's amazing that I can do this. And just understand that those things will flex and move as you go through your life with chronic illness.
Definitely. Jen, this was such a great conversation. Unfortunately, we have to wrap up,
Sure.
but I'm so happy that you was able to join us today, that you um, sharing with us all this information. This is so much, seeds for
Mhm.
thought. You can really contemplate on every statement that you made, on every piece of information you made, and I hope that our listeners will use it. And just to let everybody know, Jen is the coach, and she's working with people, helping them to manage their stress, to manage their problems, challenges they have. And we have here the ways how you can reach out to her, and maybe it will show up on the screen very, very shortly. Um, um, Monica, if you can help us with that, please.
Yeah, it's not the easiest website I chose to say. It's prosiliencecoach.com, and that basically stands for proactive resilience. So I support people in meeting them where they're at in the challenge and helping them get to a baseline. And then we can prepare for the future and future challenges. So I so
All
appreciate you
right.
having me on. I'd love to come back anytime you would like, and hope to hear from some of your listeners and community.
Absolutely. Well, Jen, please just, I will show the other activities that are happening in our community, and we will wrap up real fast. So I just wanted to say, everybody who is listening to us, that our podcast goes goes live into our Facebook group at 4 p.m. Eastern time every Thursday, as I said, at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we inviting experts, people who work with people with diabetes, people who live with diabetes, to share their information. Uh, every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we have our support group meeting where our community members and some experts are meet together and help each other to go through the challenges, to stay on their task and be strong. Um, I wanted to say that Monica Henderson is coming soon, and she will be live on our Facebook group on Mondays, and she will be talking about motivational tricks and tips and what you can do to stay afloat and do what you need to do. Also, maybe you already noticed every Tuesday we have our telenurse uh, present in a group and she is answering the questions. We had yesterday new nurse joining us, Tina Boxter, and you can ask the questions and she will answer it to you from 7 to 8 p.m. They're coming into the group to help our people. On Fridays, we have our Trevor Brown coming with Fitness Fridays, talking about fitness, talking about how you can help yourself, what exercises are good, and also he's talking about nutrition, which is extremely important to keep your body able to do the activities, to do those exercises. And I just also wanted to thank our sponsors, which is Mink Life Motivation, On Balance Entertainment, Life-Based Solutions, and Empower People that care for helping us to bring this information to you, to have this all available for our members. So, with that, I thank again Jenn for coming and sharing with us your information. Remind you that we will see you next week on our podcast at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a great